as we are coming today to continue the series of learning about Christ in the light of other big personalities that we talked about. Either by these other people because they were so powerful and important in the Jewish tradition, or because they're so opposite. So we highlighted Christ in relationship to John the Baptist a few times. And also we highlighted Christ and Moses for a few times, and we'll continue this week to touch a little bit on that. And also about Christ as being a good leader compared to somebody like Herod as being a bad shepherd. And today our reading came from John, the writer of this gospel, who we know that he was the last gospel to be written. And as I mentioned many times, this could be a good news and a bad news. The good news that he lived long enough to see that church is growing, but also with every growth that there is difficulties and troubles. He saw that church is getting bigger, but also he saw the church coming with many heresies. He saw that church, the congregation, is forming many committees and many groups to lead the church after different names, but also he saw the conflict and competition between different church leaders. So as we see that John, the writer of this gospel, as I said, is the image that you always see in the ancient church tradition about the gospel of John is manifested by the eagle figure. And every time we think about why John has the eagle figure, is being so high, he's the one looking from above. All the other animals, they are just walking on earth. But he's the one that he has the power to look from above, to see that what everybody else can see as you walk on earth, it's totally will not be the same as somebody's looking from above. So, and also this is not just a normal bird. This is a very sharp eyesight. So when we refer to an eagle, we're talking about a big, huge bird that flies so high. At the same time, their eyesight is so sharp to locate at very little things and object and be on target. So when we say all of these things, we want to remind ourselves that every time you think that you get what John is telling you, you are wrong. There is always many layers. He says something that sounds simple and easy, and everybody gets it. But the more you read, you find there are more layers and layers under that. And that's why maybe give us a good interpretation of why he's dwelling so much on this, the miracle of feeding the hungry 5,000 people. We know this miracle exists in other gospels, but in his way, he has been like repeating and repeating himself. Even for me as a preacher, I've been preaching 2 times about the same topic. I think we are done. Why, John, you keep just taking us back and going in details like you are repeating yourself? Is he really? Or if somebody's asking the same question twice, maybe the problem is not with the person that's asking. Maybe the problem was the person who's listening, is not getting the first time what the question means. So if I keep repeating the question, that means you are not getting what I am waiting from you. So the writer of this gospel is really dwelling very much about, I am the bread of life. I'm the living bread. But again, he's trying to shake the foundation between Jesus and Moses. And I said, any Christian will never understand how powerful the figure of Moses is in the Jewish faith. So Moses is flying in a different place. There is nobody can become closer in the Jewish tradition except Elijah. And Elijah for all of the good things done, but for being so unique that he is the one that's taken into heaven alive. Yeah, that's another good movie story. You know, somebody went to heaven alive and he's still there until now. But nobody else can come closer. So John, the writer of this gospel, is working very hard to bring Christ into the same level of Moses, and even doing the last difficult step and say he's not even equal. He is better, he is higher. So that's why he's really taking us into, this is not a symbol, just a poor people just sitting there, no shepherds, and a good guy came and say, I'm feeding you. No, no, no. He's saying this sign of feeding these people when Christ will call himself, I am the bread of life. So in this chapter 6, verse 35, there is a big proclamation there that you cannot ignore. Anything happened before and after is because of this statement. When Christ said, I am the bread of life. So when he said that, the Jews understand that everything comes to their mind that one day our ancestors, they were lost in the desert of Sinai for 40 years, no water, no food, and God gave them what they need. So the gift, the food that came from the heaven, we call it the manna. And this is a very important story for the Jews. The lesson from the story that's happened was when God gave them the food on a daily basis. And every time God gives a gift, to maintain the gift and to understand what's behind it, you need to listen to God's instruction, not your own instruction. You need to listen to God's goal, why he's doing this with us, and not to our own personal interpretation. One of the powerful things is not just getting the food, eat, feeling good, life is good. The instruction that comes from God that you take a limited food based on how many people in your family, their age and everything. There was rules. So when you go and waiting outside the tent to get the food that you need, the supply for your family, you cannot take any more. Just think about that. Think about we are a bunch of people lost in a desert, and somehow an aliens came with their food thing, and you didn't think that we're going all to jump and maybe we even hurt each other for each one try to get as much as we can food. Why? We cannot do that when we go to Cobb and Target today, right? Because we know they are there. We can go another time. I can get what I want. But when you are desperate and run by fear, that's when you're feeling the ideas, how it feels to be starving to death. The fear of can handle to stay longer in hunger, but not my little children. What's break a family's heart that they may handle the hunger and the thirsty better, but they cannot tell these children not to cry because they are hungry. So before you blame these people who do not understand, who could not practice to trust God on a daily basis, remember they are you and me. Every time we talk about these people who lack to trust God, they are like you and me when we are so scared and suddenly we find the miracle that there is much food outside. We will run. We will push everybody in our way. We will put much food on our back and our hands and everything we can do. Why? Because we taste the fear of being devastated by not having food, not having what our body is looking for. And also the other big fear of even if I can have food for today, how can I trust that I will have food for tomorrow? So this is an amazing miracle. It was not just about the manna and what kind of food that was in and was it fresh or not, but the point is to practice trusting God every morning that will be. God will send his supplies. And every time when I go and resist my own way of thinking, being smart, and I want to try to protect my future, I want to try to get as much as I can for myself and for my children to secure their future. But God was saying, no, the deal. And every time, based on what's written in the Torah, every time people took more food, do you know what happened? They found the food turned rotten. Every time they tried to be smart and to play smart against God, my plan is better than God's plan, I do not trust these people. I need more food for my family. So this is the central idea that when Christ is speaking about that, Christ is saying, I'm not just a meal to make you feel good. I'm the one who can give you a sense of security. How many times we miss that? We try to gain more things by having more money or more good position or better houses and any of this, and there is nothing wrong with that. But if it's all coming from a deep fear, if you get the whole world in your hand, you will still be scared and feel insecure. But God was trying to say, with little things in your life, what I can give you the sense of security. You can be surrounded by troops and armies, and you still be terrified like a child. But God said, I can give you the feeling of security with little things you have. So when Christ say, I am the bread of life, Christ saying that I am not just the meal, I'm not just something that's given to you and then you forgot. I'm the kind of meal that be with you all your life. I'm the kind of food that will never be spoiled but always inspire you. I am. When I say I am, that's enough. We remember that when we use this verb I am every time, it has to follow with a definition who you are. Every time will be the simple, easy word. After that, we're trying to explain ourselves to others. If Christ said I am, Christ does not need to put any words in the blanks. You and me, to know each other, we have to say a lot. I cannot just say I am and stop. You'll laugh at me. I need to say I am and goes on to try to help people to understand who I am. But Christ, every time he says I am, it is enough by itself. One of the powerful, wonderful story in the Old Testament when Moses met God for the first time. And he told them, so when I go and talk to the Israelites, well, what's your name? Sir, tell me what's your name? What can I tell them? It was not Yahweh or God or Allah or whatever, all the millions of names that you have in God in many religions, in many backgrounds. God was saying in a very powerful way, I am that I am. That any of us, we have to find someone else to be defined by. But God, there is no other words to define. God is the definition of everything that's beyond our understanding. And this word, I am, in the book of the writer of this gospel is very powerful. You find that this is the first time God say, I am the bread of life. You want to go on and John in the same gospel when he say, I am the living bread. And God will say, I am the light of this world. I'm the sheep's door. I am the door. Is it done? No. You can keep on the list in this gospel where Christ will say, I am the resurrection and the life. And then the most famous one, I am the way, the truth, and life. And at the end, when Christ talk about being the true vine, I am the true vine. So I am is in God is different from anybody else. It's enough for God to say, I am in your life. Not because I give you bread, I give you health, I give you strength. Any of these things, this is like a supernatural, superficial thing that will happen. But the most important, that I am in your life. I am the giver and the gift itself. The true gift is not because God gave me all this list of things. The true gift is that God is truly in my life. How many times we act these little children who, once they saw daddy's coming with the little toy, they take the toy and they are so happy, but they will run away. They will forget. They will not even maybe remember to say, thank you, daddy or mommy, for whatever. That's the joy of the children. They're so happy with the gift. They're so overwhelmed with the gift. And they forgot even to think and see who gave me the gift. And God today is warning us and encouraging us to say, how many times you're so amazed about the manna, the food coming from heaven. But God was saying, who gave you that? They thought that was Moses. No, Moses did not give you that. Moses was the guy that get the supply. He's the delivery guy. How many, they forgot to focus on who gave us the manna? Who gave us the food? What's the message behind this food? And as we see that today, that God's saying, I am the bread of life. Who comes to me will never feel hungry, and who believes in me will not be thirsty. So, and as we talk about Christ as being the bread of life, but we talk the other part of the statement, it's who comes to me? How do we come to God? How God draws us close to Him? Is it through the Bible? Through the church? What about life circumstances? What about life when life does not give you what you want? When life is not really acting in the way you wish? When all the circumstances where you can simply say, this is not my day. I do not feel good about this day. How many times we feel this way? But the reaction is we all feel this way at some point in our life. But the question is, what do we do with these kind of feelings and thoughts? Do we complain? Do we wonder? Do we need to find somebody to be mad at? That's what we like to do. But Christ is trying to give us really a wonderful gift today. To say when life is really not on your side, according to your understanding. Because what you may think is life is not on your side today, you may regret the statement in the future. You may address that in the future and say, what I thought was bad for me in the past, now I say thank you, God, because that was good for me. When we walk through life, we cannot see everything. But when we go ahead and have the moment to be calm and honest and think in a more clear way, we have the right to look back and try to review our life and say, now I understand better. So you either really understand better or really get older, get wiser. You get understanding things from a bigger perspective. All these days you've been walking on your feet. But what the writer of this gospel is giving us the eagle's eyes. I want to give you the eagle's eye to look at things from a different perspective. While the fear of, I am hungry today and I found food and I know that I'm going to be hungry in a couple hours or tomorrow, can I find food? What if we try to change this topic and say, what if hunger and thirsty is actually a gift and not a curse? So the eagerness of feeling that These people are not living like you and me on diet and thinking that I need to take 3 healthy meals in the morning and this kind of routines. These people are eating when they're starving. This is the kind of lifestyle of their food, of their understanding. So the sensor on your body that tells you you really need to eat right now, it's not coming from education or privilege or social class. It's coming from your own bodies trying to save you from your own hunger. So in this science that you may see it as a negative things, but these sensors in your body, that's one that tells you you need to do something right now to stay alive. You need to do these things so you can keep going on in life. So it's the whole thing that I'm afraid the next time I'm going to be hungry and have no food, the guts say, but this feeling itself is making you try to find something. So this is the kind of, you can complain, but you can also find hope even in everything that you complain about. There are many people who complain in this life, including you and me, and we like to complain. But the most dangerous complainers, the ones that do not speak about their complaints. Most of us complain, but in silence. We complain, we see it in the eyes and the body language. But some people actually, they are very good to just speak out loud about, they complain about something. Nobody likes to hear anybody complains. But even those who complain and open their mouth, maybe they're giving us a chance to understand where they're coming from. May they make us understand to do better things to improve as a church. Not everybody complains is a bad thing. Not everybody who raised their voice and their concerns, they are the voice of the unwanted person or unwanted spirit. It could be a voice to help us to understand where people are coming from. So people, they were complaining, but he's trying to remind them about your ancestor complained in the desert where God was performing miracles for 40 years. So the problem is not in miracles. The problem is not, the voice is not there. God is screaming. God is talking to us. God is using simple and difficult ways to tell us. But we cannot hear. We don't want to hear. We want to hear what we like to hear and want God's agenda to be our agenda. But God is saying that if you want to get all the benefits, if you want to get all these little kids things, like all these gifts, you need to find a relationship with me first. So he's told them that your ancestors ate the food and see the result, they die. I give you a kind of food that will keep you alive and give you a different meaning of the life you are living today. So to keep this bread alive, you need to trust me daily. You need to understand what I give you today is good for you, even when you still complain, even when you still wonder. But you do not stop walking. You do not stop talking. You do not stop wondering. You do not stop trying to understand, even if you fail millions of times. There is always room for God to say, here is a different way to understand things. Even your complaint that's compared being hungry and thirsty and desperate and confused, all of these things does not make you a bad person. It makes you a good disciple to Jesus Christ. If you learn a simple thing, to trust, and to whom do you complain? So trust in God, because He is the giver and the gift itself. Trust God and understand that God is trying to do everything to draw you closer to Him. Do we listen? Do we see? Do we understand? And even if not, God will never give up on us. Amen.
Right.